Hey, welcome to the Undebatable Relatables. This is episode 3, and it's going to be on productivity tips. My name is Anna Wynn,
Jocelyn Liu.
I'm Josiah Walker.
and we're going to be talking about productivity tips. As I said, basically just what you can do to just help your mind be in that mindset where you're ready to get some work done.
Yep.
So,
All right.
who would like to start?
I guess I'll go first because I feel like I have sometimes the least productive days out of the week, but I still have value to add on the subject of productivity. So when it comes to being productive for me, I find the most productive hours are my nighttime hours, usually from 6 to 9 are my most productive hours. Usually because I have track practice after school, and that takes up my evening time. So when I get home, I usually take a couple minutes, about 10 to 20 minutes, to relax, de-stress, eat a snack or two, just kind of relax my brain. Then as I go into the night, I do some easy work. Usually I'd say when you're starting off with your work, you do your easy work to your hard work, or if you want to start from the other way around, that it's okay as well. I just say start from your easy work to your hard work, because as you're doing that, you help ease your mind, into your mindset of your working mindset, and that you're back going to this grind of doing this work and getting it done tonight, or getting it done as quick as you can, or at least as efficiently as you can. So going from easy to hard helps ramp you into that mindset, and you're good to go. Comparatively to starting off your hardest assignment and you kind of blank out, and it's generally a little harder to do that for most people. If you're not most people, then you probably can do it. I'm not saying you can or should, but whatever is your preference, go ahead. But usually that's the most big hours for me. And thanks to that, I usually get work done in a pretty good time limit. Unfortunately, thanks to my sporadic schedule and my tendencies, it's not always the case. And sometimes I do go off schedule, off my productive kind of cycle. And in scenarios like that, I recommend, usually if you get stuck eating dinner because your parents made dinner too late, or you ate dinner too early, stuff like that happens. And your life is not a planned schedule. It's going to have road bumps in there. So to deal with those road bumps, I recommend stopping what you're doing, taking a couple of deep breaths, going back to your schedule or your calendar that you have for your school, or at least something where you can have your assignments organized, going through them, and just starting on the one you think is most important, or the thing you need to get done the most. Anyway, that's pretty much it for me. That from the base level, at least, for productivity tips.
Definitely. For me, when it comes to being productive, honestly, the unfortunate thing for me is that it's very sporadic. For me, I'm gonna be honest, my productive times, obviously it depends on what kind of thing I'm doing. If I was to be writing, then my productive times is really, really, really late at night when it's really dark and I have all my work done and we're sitting in my bed. I'm I'm gonna write now because I don't have anything to worry about, right? Particularly, obviously you have to worry about tomorrow, but you're too tired to worry about tomorrow, and so all you can think of is just all the thoughts that are already in your head, which is why writing at those times is the perfect thing, except you can't really stay up late at night to do that, so that's a little bit of a problem, but it's okay.
Yeah.
But when it comes to schoolwork, figuring out a time for that is, in my opinion, kind of hard, obviously, because you can never get in the mood. When you get back from school, you're tired, you don't want to do your homework, but you kind of have to. That's why for me, whenever I'm I know for a fact that I'm going home really late, I'm gonna go home at 6 o'clock because I had to go to school for an extracurricular and stay at school. I'm gonna be really tired when I get home. So what I do is I plan ahead and I make sure I finish at least half of my homework at school, because I know that since I'm at school, I'm in the zone, I'm learning, since I already learned the stuff and stuff, right? By being able to do my homework at that time, it kind of puts me more into that zone and puts me more into that productive mood, because I'm okay, I just did schoolwork. If I just continue to do schoolwork, then I'm kind of already, I'm kind of continuing on that streak of just doing the work, because that's the reason why I don't like to it's kind of bad, but have any free time at school, because if that happens, excluding lunch, right? But if there's free time in class, I would do it to do homework, because I know if I goof around and stuff, then I won't be able to get back into that learning zone, and I would just not pay attention in the next class, which is not, good.
Okay.
Yeah, that's why I do that.
Right.
So like finishing that kind of homework while you're still in the zone of finishing that work is the best idea. So like, for example, if I have an online class and I do the homework for it and I get home and I'm like, I don't want to do this. If I do it in like one of my fifth period free classes at school, then I'm like, I'm in that school zone. I'm just going to do my work. And it's like works kind of pretty good, kind of. But that would be my advice for productivity. It's kind of like, if you need to get your work done, the best way to do so is to get yourself in the zone, which is definitely easier said than done, don't get me wrong. But like, if you can find an easy way to get that, like just by doing your homework at school, even as much as you don't want to do it, if it makes you like not have to do it when you get home, it gives you more time to sleep at home. It gives you more time to play games at home. Like, you have so much more time left. And also, if you have to do your schoolwork like at home, the best way to like get back into doing it is what I do is I do like small things that are kind of related to it, and then I kind of move on and kind of gradually push myself into that zone. Like, for example, like if I had to do math homework at home and I'm like, what I would do is I would, like, as boring as it is, I have fallen asleep before, but like I would watch like Khan Academy math videos. Yeah, okay. I know, it was really bad. I did it in 8th grade, and honestly, it worked, but it made me sleep a lot. But we don't talk about that. I would watch like one video, and I'd be like, that's terrible. I do one of the exercises, and then I do my homework, and I'm like, wow, this homework's so much more easier, and I would get through it really fast. And that's how I would do it. It's really boring, but hey, it gets you through it, so you might as well. That would be my insight on it.
Well, I guess it's my turn. So I have a prized possession, and that is called my planner. I put a lot of effort into it because I know if I write it down, I have like a tendency to like remember it more vividly, and I know what I have to get done during school or with whatever free time I have between dismissal and practice, or even when did I say get home? I probably did, but point being is like any of my free time, I know what I have to do. And I also like to like prioritize my tasks either by due date or by difficulty. If I have the leeway to like prioritize it by difficulty, I tend to do the more hard things first, because then the smaller things will just be quick and easy. It's like, oh, this is simple. I can just do this in like 15 minutes and I'm done with it. And another thing is my free study calls. If I don't do like my normal schoolwork, like I do an online course instead, because like as Jossie said, it's that like productiveness of being in school. I tend to at least like look at the first problem or glance over whatever topic the notes I have to take are. And another thing is I try not to worry about it. I'm like a person that overthinks a lot, but I tend to find that if I don't worry about it as much, like I don't overthink it as much, I have like a more positive mindset that will allow me to like be in that productive zone as soon as I get home from practice.
Gotcha.
So that is my take on that.
Okay, interesting. Good to hear everyone's takes. I like how we all have a little different way of dealing with it, and it works to varying degrees, but you can obviously tell what tendencies are better to keep and which ones are not as good to keep. But when it comes to being productive, when Jocelyn was talking about her tips, I heard that she brought up the point of playing games in your free time when you get home and things like that. And I do agree that things like that help, de-stress and kind of relax. But it's an important thing to keep in mind that when you're doing those instant gratification activities like playing games or watching your favorite YouTuber, things like that, keep in mind that you have to keep a tight time limit on those, because you can easily get carried away by that. I've done it plenty of times before in my middle school days. I get home from school, I feel burnt out. I pull up my Switch, I go on, I start playing some games, and then I kind of get sucked into it for an hour at the most. And then after that, I'm like, I gotta get my homework done. So then that leaves me with less time than I would have had I limited my game time. therefore leaving me staying up later and getting less sleep that night and getting a little less productive the next school day, which isn't super great when you're trying to go for merit scholarships and keep your GPA generally positive. So that's just my two cents on it. Limiting your game time. And I'm not saying stop playing games in general. No, people who tell you to stop playing games because it doesn't help you during school, or it's not factually true. I'd say games are still a very awesome option to just relieve your stress and give yourself some enjoyment in your life, because we all know that we need it. Sometimes there's a lot of things in life that go on, and we need some gateway to kind of take in that, or at least relieve ourselves of that constant pressure. And games and other things like reading books or having a garden, planting, things like that, all kinds of activities are cool and all help in their own way. So that's just my percent on it. Being careful with how you manage your free time and your gratification activities, and making sure that you keep in mind what you're doing before you get into your work, or what you're doing as you know what you have work ahead. For example, if you know you have easy assignments ahead of you, then sure, give yourself a little more time to finish an extra race or finish an extra match. But still, don't forget, you still have to deal with this. It's not like it's going to be done in 10 minutes or less. No, you still have to put effort and work through that assignment, even if it's easy. I've done plenty of times before. I've underestimated an assignment, and it's left me going to bed still at like 11 o'clock, despite me having easier work, which should be done by 9. So it clearly has an effect, and that effect's not always great. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I think it's like really important, like like when you say like manage your free time, because like productivity isn't only with like schoolwork. Like when I did that example with like writing and stuff, because productivity is like, it's to feel motivated to do certain things, and like it's also important, like if you want to feel productive in, like, let's say one of your extracurriculars, like you want to feel productive in drawing, you want to feel productive in art, music, singing, whatever, like you just have to have that kind of self-motivation in order to want to do it and be able to do it a lot. Like I have to like really hype myself up and motivate myself to practice my piano, and like sometimes I have like really productive sessions when I like have my piano lessons or when I practice piano, because like I feel motivated to do it, which isn't always hard. Self-motivation, I feel like self-motivation and productivity really, really go hand in hand.
Yes,
and it's really difficult to like get that together, because self-motivation is really hard, but productivity is like a whole nother ball game, since it requires self-motivation, but also requires like your mood, it requires your environment, and so obviously it's quite difficult, which is why certain productivity tips don't work for certain people, and like the way you be productive always just depends on you as a person, which is why like you have to test things out, see if I do my homework at home, maybe I'm more productive than like me who does my homework at school, and by doing that you can figure out what works best for you, since that kind of motivation is specialized towards that certain person.
Exactly.
Adding on to like testing multiple methods, I have tested so many. I've tested the one where you like work for an increment of time and then give yourself a 5-minute break, and if the increment of time you're working is larger, then you take a bigger break. However, that one did not work for me like whatsoever, and then I tried like just sitting down and working for as long as possible. That didn't work either. Right now I'm on the one where it's like, it's not like an efficient one, it's more something like I found that worked for me, is that I do one assignment, and if I have the motivation to do another that's like similar to it, like English notes and English reading, then I'll do both of those in the same block of time. And then after I'm done with that, I take a little break, get a snack or coffee if it's the right time, because I don't like to drink coffee past 5. And then I just go back to doing what I was doing, working on another assignment or another responsibility. I have to do like chores or take my dog out to do what she does in the backyard. So it's important to give yourself those breaks. Personally, to me, I feel like that's very important, because it gives yourself that time to like decompress from that big block of productivity. Because after a while, like for me, I noticed that I burn out, and that's just like normal.
Yeah, I feel like definitely breaks are very important. And once again, not only in like schoolwork, also in like extracurriculars and in hobbies, to be honest. Like to kind of reference to a personal problem. Um, I like to draw and write and stuff, but it's been really hard for me to motivate myself to draw and write nowadays because of how much I wrote and drew over quarantine. Like, I'm gonna be honest, quarantine kind of screwed me over because I would write and I would draw every single day, hoping to get better, right? And then because I would constantly write and draw, I lost all of the like inspiration that I had and all the motivation I had because every day was the same thing. I would just take my pen, go draw something, and I would never be satisfied with it because I would draw every single day, which I know a lot of people do, but like it's kind of, a little discouraging when you're stuck at home every day, all day, staring at a tablet and just drawing. Because it's understandable to draw in increments of time, like at school and you're like working on a project, but like all day for like 8 hours, that's like wasn't healthy, first of all, and it wasn't good. And so now I have to like really motivate myself in order to make a drawing piece because of how much I hated doing it over quarantine because of how much I did it. And kind of that, it may just only be with me. It depends on the person, of course. But for me, I guess, repetitiveness sometimes with even the things you love the most, if you don't do it at a healthy amount and you do it too much, it can just ruin it for you, which isn't great. And once again, it hinders your productivity. Like if I have to draw something for something, I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do that, and it just completely hinders the process and completely just blocks everything that I need to do, which really does not help, and it's really bad. So definitely take breaks, both in schoolwork and for hobbies and extracurriculars, because if you overwork yourself, like Anna said, you'll burn out, and that's not good. So that's a very important productivity tip as well, because burning out means you can't be productive, so don't do that.
Adding on to like the fact of burning out, it has like that physical, not only physical toll, but mental toll too. It's like mentally you're gonna be like, can I ever get back to that productive state I was ever in? Can I build up to be back in that state of mind to be that productive again? And then the physical toll, like going to sleep late because you haven't done this stuff, you procrastinated, and because you're staying up late, you're just more tired in general. Like when I started high school, I found myself having these stuff piled up, and then I stayed up a little later, and now I'm like falling asleep every second of the day. So this is your sign to not procrastinate, but also give yourself breaks. I know that sounds like contradicting, but you'll find your system. Trust me, it happens. Like another physical thing that I've noticed is that when I get stressed out, I break out, and I don't like breaking out because it's painful to me. But yeah,
that's a definite, yeah. And sorry, one more addition to the idea of burning out. I feel like another factor when it comes to people burning out is if they overwork themselves by overburdening themselves. So I know that one of the productivity tips that a lot of people give is there's also researchers that have evidence that suggests that people who are able to be productive or have strong levels of productivity a lot, they tend to separate their lives between work and their own lives, and by doing so they kind of they set those boundaries, which allows them to be able to be like, hey, I can't take on another project or else I will burn out. I'll completely overwork myself and I won't be able to get done the things that I need to. Since trying to do everything in the world won't work, unfortunately, as much as you would like to. But you can try, but it won't always be your best work, which is an important thing, since anything you do, if you truly love it or you truly want to do it, if you had to write an essay for something, sure, you'd be like, oh, this class isn't that important, it doesn't have to be great. But if that essay think about it. That essay is being used as practice. Let's say it's for English class. That essay you're writing is for practice, so then you could do well on your essay for the end of the year that might be graded. If you don't put effort in this essay, you won't be able to practice. And so you'll just constantly be at the same level, and you won't be able to get a good grade on that essay in the end, which isn't helpful. So if you feel overpressured, you feel you can't handle all these things at once, and you're just like giving all the work you're doing is just half of your best, take something off. As much as you don't want to, just take something off. Because if you don't, it won't work out, and you won't be as productive as you'd want to be, since everything you're doing is not good. It's not your best, and it could be better, and it could be more beneficial to you, which is why, not doing everything might be better.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. Having all that to manage and having the ability to say, I have to cut something off right now, or else my schedule or my whole rhythm is going to be shaken off. It's definitely something that I've struggled to do over the past months in high school. The entirety, mostly of freshman year, has been a lot of me staying up late and dealing with things that in the morning I'm going to school, and then I'm realizing that, hey, I need to do all that last night. I could have easily just not done it, and then at this point in class could have done, or they would have told me, teachers themselves would have been like, oh, they say you can do this later or do this in class, and I'm like, okay, thank you. But that didn't happen. I was always paranoid and believed that if I didn't get this done right now, right on time, even to the smallest margin, I would be failing, or I'd be getting a failing grade, when it simply isn't the case. It takes, like I said, it takes some bravery, I'd say, to stop and just what you're doing, and whether it be like going to sleep or getting something more important, or getting more hours of your minutes you're studying. It's just that ability to cut something off that is not going to be the end of the world. Is something that takes some strength, and it's definitely something I need to work on myself, as that's definitely restricted me from getting a good night's sleep for the majority of my freshman year. And I'm happy to say that I'm going to start including that in my daily, in my week of school, trying to cut things out that I know for a fact, especially since I know the teachers a lot more now. I know what can slide with them, what's not going to slide. And it definitely helps when you're a good student in general, when you're known to turn assignments in on time, and they know you put good work and good effort into what you do. And when they have one little assignment slide and it's not even that important, then usually you can make it up in the next day and not have any anyway, like I was saying, but just like I was saying, if you know the teacher enough, you can get away with what you can't get away with, and that's something you use to your advantage to increase your productivity, because it's going to be a lot easier to do good on your quiz or your test when you put more time into studying for it, instead of finishing that one English assignment that is worth like 10 points, and even the teacher isn't that ecstatic about having to grade you on. So it's all about playing around that as well, and kind of understanding what your teachers allow, what they don't allow, what they like and what they don't like from you as a student.
That's the difference too. Like prioritizing what work is important, what work isn't important.
Exactly. Do you guys have anything to add on that? On productivity in general? Do you think we've covered the majority of the points?
I think that we've covered all the key points that we particularly have. Since we're just freshman high schoolers, we haven't really gotten to all the hard work quite yet. So our opinions on productivity might change. But at the moment, this is our tips on how to be productive. And this is our tips on how we personally operate and how we feel like would be best when you're trying to manage your time, you're trying to be productive and try to not procrastinate. So
exactly.
Yeah. Any last thoughts?
Nothing much for me. Just keep the key points in your mind, guys. Prioritize your rest. It's very valuable, and you can't just disregard it as a resource to use. That is very much going to dictate how you do on most of your assignments and in class itself, whether it be sleeping in class or dozing off when your teacher's explaining a really important lecture, or just missing a video assignment in class because you missed a few key details. just keeping in mind that you need to prioritize your sleep as well as your work, but know which one you need to obviously take more care of, which is your sleep. It's not even a competition. And don't forget, you guys, we have some articles to share with them and the link in the description below. So check those out. Get some time.
Definitely. And I'd like to end with a quote. Productivity isn't about being a workhorse, keeping busy, or burning the midnight oil. It's more about priorities, planning, and fiercely protecting your time. By Gary Keller. So.
Wow.
Yeah, that is the end of our 3rd episode of the podcast. Thank you for listening, and we will get this video out soon, and you will definitely hear our next episode soon. We'll see you then.
Yes. And have a good day. Have a great day, evening, night, weekend, week, whenever you're watching this.
Bye, guys. Have a great day. Thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.